All right, let's talk about something that is, no joke, a time machine for your code. It's called Git. And honestly, if you're writing code or even just thinking about it, this is something you've absolutely got to know. So let's dive right in.
Okay, let me ask you something. Have you ever been like hours deep into a project and you get that feeling of pure terror in your stomach? You know, the one where you're about to make a change and you're just convinced it's going to break everything? Or worse, you accidentally delete a file and boom, hours of work just gone. Yeah, we've all been there.
So let's talk about the code chaos problem. Before tools like Git came along, trying to manage a coding project was, well, it was a mess, especially if you were working with other people. It pretty much meant you were just saving copy after copy after copy of your work with file names that got more and more desperate.
And yeah, this. Does this look painfully familiar to anyone? This is exactly what that chaos looks like. You just end up with this folder overflowing with files that look almost identical, but you know deep down that they're different in ways that could be, catastrophic. I mean, this just lays out the whole nightmare, doesn't it? Without a real system for this stuff, you are literally drowning in copies of your project. You're too scared to delete any old code, because what if you need it later? And if you're on a team, oh, forget about it. You're emailing zip files back and forth, trying to manually copy and paste changes from one person's file into another. It's slow, it's super easy to make a mistake, and it does not scale. Okay, so to rescue us from all of that chaos, we have our superhero, Git. And this isn't some obscure tool. It is the most popular solution on the entire planet for managing code. So what is Git really? At its core, it's something called a version control system, or a VCS for short. Now that sounds complicated, but it's not. All it means is that it's a system, a program, that records every single change you make to your code over time. And it keeps all that history safe in a special little database called a repository. And this is where the magic happens. Because with Git, you had this perfect, detailed history of your project. You can look back and see exactly who made what change, precisely when they did it, and even why they did it. And here's the best part. If you mess something up, and trust me, we all do, you can just rewind. You can instantly go back to any earlier version of your project that was working. It's like a superpower. It's like having an infinite undo button for your entire project. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this is a big deal. More than 90%. That's how many software projects in the world are using Git. So let's be real. If you want to work in tech, if you want to be a developer, learning Git isn't just a nice to have. It's pretty much a requirement. Okay, so how does this whole thing actually work under the hood? Well, it all boils down to a really simple 3-step workflow for saving your changes. Let's break it down. All right, so there are 30 stages to know. First up, the working directory. That's just a fancy name for your project folder, you know, where all your files live and where you're actually writing code. Nothing special there. Now, once you've made a few changes, you move them to stage 2, the staging area. I love this analogy of a drafting table. Think of it as a place where you gather up all the specific changes you want to save together in one neat package. You're basically saying, okay, I want to save this change and that change, but not this other one yet. Then, once you've got everything you want on your drafting table, you move to the final step. You commit those changes and they get saved forever in the repository. And the repository, that's like the permanent photo album of your project. Each save is a new picture in the album. And this is a really, really important detail. A lot of older systems would just save the differences between files. You know, like a list of what lines were added or deleted. But Git is different. Every time you save or commit, Git takes a complete snapshot of your entire project at that exact moment in time. It's like taking a full photograph, not just a list of what changed in the room. And that's what makes it so powerful and so fast when you need to jump back in time to a previous version. Okay, that's enough theory. Let's get practical. How do you actually do this? Let's walk through the commands to make your very first commit. Don't worry, it's super straightforward. First things first, you navigate to your project folder in the terminal and you type git init. That's it. This one command initializes or starts up a brand new Git repository right there. It's like you're officially turning on the time machine for this specific project. What it actually does is create a hidden subfolder named .git, and that's where all the magic, all the history is going to be stored. All right, so now you've written some code, you've changed a file. Your next step is to use git add and then the name of the file you changed. This is the command that moves that file from your working directory to the staging area, that drafting table we just talked about. You're telling Git, hey, I'm happy with these changes. Please get them ready for the official save. And for the grand finale, you use git commit. The command looks like this: git commit -m, and then in quotes, a message about your changes. This is the command that takes everything you put in the staging area and saves it as a permanent snapshot in your repository's history. That little -m just stands for message, and this part is so important. You write a short description of what you did, added new user login feature, or fix bug in the navigation. These messages become the story of your project, so make them good. Okay, time to address something that trips up almost every single beginner. And that is the difference between Git and GitHub. Let me say it loud and clear, they are not the same thing. So here's the breakdown. Git is the actual software. It's the tool that lives on your computer, tracking all the changes. You can use Git all day long without ever being connected to the internet. GitHub, on the other hand, is a website. It's a service that lives on the internet, and its job is to host your Git repositories. It's a place to store your projects online so you can share them with the world or collaborate with a team. I love this analogy. Git is the engine that makes the car go. GitHub is the garage where you park the car, and it's also kind of like a social club where you can show off your car and work on projects with other people. All right, let's do a super quick recap of the most important stuff. Number 1. Git is that version control system that saves snapshots of your code, so you can stop the madness of manual file management. Number 2, the core workflow is always the same 3 steps. You modify your files, you add them to the staging area, and then you commit them to your history. And finally, remember, Git is the tool on your machine, GitHub is the website in the cloud that hosts your Git projects. Easy. Look, at the end of the day, learning Git is about so much more than just learning some commands. It's about giving yourself the freedom to be brave with your code, the freedom to experiment, to try new things, to collaborate with anyone, anywhere, all without that constant fear of breaking everything. You've basically just been handed the keys to a time machine for your code. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build with it?